Hello everybody, my name is Angel and welcome back to my little corner of the internet. Or if you're new here, welcome. I hope you stick around. Folks, I finally did it. I finally sat down and I watched season 2 of Love Alarm. I was holding off watching it until it was finished, and then I got busy and so I just never got around to it. But we're here now. I'm watching it now, or I watched it today. Started it yesterday, got mad halfway through it, and was like, yeah, that's the end of this for tonight. And I finished it this afternoon. Now we're here, we're recording about it. So, same main characters, we've got two new people. This girl, whose name I don't remember, it's like Munsu or something like that. She's JoJo's friend from school, and we have this guy, his name is Brian. If you forgot the rest of the characters, JoJo's our main girl, love her so much. Hyeyoung, love interest 1, Suno, love interest 2. Season 1 they're swapped, but in this season, Hyeyoung is our main dude. So, that's all the characters. In case you didn't watch my last video, I recommend you watch it. I'll put the card up there. It's very funny, because I'm hilarious. But in case you didn't watch my last video on this show, for a quick recap, as quickly as I can make it, this guy invents an app. It's called Love Alarm, and it allows you to find out who likes you if they're like within a certain meter radius of you. And it causes a bunch of chaos at school because there's this kid who shows up. He learns that his bestie has a crush on this girl, JoJo, and he is mad, I guess. And then he starts to develop feelings for her. It's a really awkward love triangle. She's dating Suno for a while. They break up at the end of the show. He's all distraught about it. Still distraught about it 4 years later. While JoJo's trying to find the developer to get this thing removed from her app that is how she was able to lie to him and break up with him. That was a very messy, sloppy retelling, but you're better off just watching my video on it. Or watching the show. I liked it. Moving on, the show starts with JoJo and her very cute friend. I wish I remembered her name, but I don't. She's very cute. But the two of them are going to class. At this point in the show, episode 1, I realized that I couldn't remember any of the main characters' names. I obviously learned them from watching, but for a while I was like, who are these people? What's going on? Anyway, then we learned that JoJo and Hyeyoung are dating. They're very cute. He's like the perfect partner. Sweet and attentive, you know the drill. There's a scene where the two of them are shooting each other with like an old school film camera. It's so cute! I'm gonna die. I absolutely love them. They're so adorable. But the show keeps bringing up that she can't ring his love alarm, and it's like the most painfully awkward part of the first episode, for me at least. Suno's dad is a terrible person. I don't really remember him being relevant in the first season at all, outside of like, oh, he's running for a political thing. In season 2, they quickly established that he's a horrible person by having him yell at first Suno's mom and then at Suno while they're all eating together with Suno's girlfriend at the table. He yells at Suno's mom for making seaweed soup, and it's her birthday, and for those of you who don't know, miyeok soup or seaweed soup is a birthday tradition in Korea. So screw you for being mad at her for making miyeok soup on her birthday. I guess it's bad luck for the political election, because he's like, why would you make this so close to the election? And then he yells at Suno. He's like, if you cause any problems during the election season, I'm shipping you off to America. If you watched season 1 of the show or watched my video on season 1, near the end of their high school part of their season, JoJo and Suno got into like a motorcycle accident, and it, I guess, was bad publicity for Dad, so he locked Suno in his room for a couple weeks while he tried to get the press to not report about it. And that's really what screwed up JoJo and Suno's relationship. His dad locked him away and like essentially grounded him so he couldn't talk to JoJo. JoJo thought he was ghosting her, and the rest is history. Suno's mom is also awful. She's very annoying, stuck up, terrible parent. JoJo's cousin, if you remember her, she's still insane. She tells JoJo that she wants to pretend to be the artist for an Instagram that JoJo runs, that she runs anonymously. It's called The Rolling World. It'll come up a lot, so. And the artist for the Instagram, if you remember, was invited to like be a badge club member for Love Alarm, so she's like a premium member. They have like a VIP club or whatever. JoJo's cousin says, I want to pretend to be the artist because of yada whatever else in the third, and JoJo says, don't be ridiculous. Then she says something about JoJo profiting off of her parents' death. And she's like, I would be famous too if my parents died. And her mom overhears it and gets mad at her because, yeah, you just basically said that you want your parents to die so that you could exploit their death for fame because you're a narcissistic, self-centered asshole. Anyway, in this season, the convenience store that her aunt runs is a 7-Eleven. I don't remember it being a 7-Eleven in the first season. Maybe it is and I forgot. But in season 2, it's a 7-Eleven. Anyway, when JoJo is leaving said 7-Eleven that she still works at, a man approaches her and he's being all weird and vague. He's like, what's going on? Why is something's wrong? Why won't you tell me what's going on? She doesn't know this man. But he's like, I did everything you said. Why has nothing changed? Something or the other. He's like, I don't know, talking gibberish at her. And she freaks out. So he's chasing her down the street. It's terrifying. And Hye-young to the rescue, really. She like hides in an alley and I'm like, that was stupid. Why did you hide down a dead end? But then Hye-young shows up, rescues her. The two of them go back to his place. She spends the night there. I'm looking at my notes and I would just like to point out that I had some very stream of consciousness stuff going on when I was watching this show because there was a mystery that I was trying to solve the entire time. So, Brian, this new guy that I mentioned, he has been announced as the developer. At the end of season 1, if you remember, they like announced the developer and it was a big deal. It was this dude named Brian, but we know the developer is a kid named Duckgook that she went to school with. So I spent like half of the show writing notes on who is the developer because this Brian dude is an impersonator and what happened to Duckgook because we saw him jump out a window, but I don't think he died. Or maybe he did, I don't know. But anyway, there's a scene that happens where the developer, Brian, is doing an interview and somebody asks him why he made Love Alarm and he says that he made it to, like, confess his feelings to a girl he liked, which is when I wrote, so the developer is the kid from high school, but he looks super different now and he's using a different name. I'm confused. What happened when he jumped out the window? Why did his face change? How did he get so tall? I had a lot of questions because this dude was taller, paler, and had a completely different face from Duckgook. And I was like, that don't make no sense. How do we get here? But he says he developed the app for the same reason that Duckgook developed it, because he had a crush on JoJo's psycho cousin. I don't know what happened to make me write this, but at some point I was like, I think I'll cry if everyone doesn't get a happy ending. I don't want Sunho or Hae-young to suffer. They both need to be happy for me to enjoy the ending of the show. Because they're both still in love with JoJo. JoJo's dating Hae-young. And this is like not one of those situations where one of the boys is significantly better than the other. They're both amazing. I said at the beginning of the end of my last video that I didn't care who she ended up with because they both deserve to be happy. I didn't realize that if they're both in love with her, they both won't get a happy ending because she's gonna choose one at the end, because there's no way that a K-drama is gonna take the throuple route. So I was in distress for a lot of the show because every time something bad happened to one of them, it made me so sad. Anyway, we'll get to that later. So JoJo went to her school to find Duckgook because she needs to get the shield removed from her phone. Now she wants to ring Hae-young's Love Alarm because they're dating. She goes to the school to find like his address or something in the records, and one of the administrators is like, hey maid, he died. So she is crying and throwing up outside of the school. Not literally, I'm being facetious. And I was like, but this doesn't make any sense because the guy who is claiming the developer keeps getting like memory flashes of Duckgook and like his high school bedroom. It's giving the old Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Because she's dead. That turns out to not be what happened, but that's what I was thinking when I was at this point in the show. Then we very abruptly find out that Hae-young's dad is in jail for murder. I completely forgot that Hae-young had a father. He's not mentioned in season 1 at all, even as like a concept, but they mentioned him in season 2 because he's in jail for murder and he's about to be like released on parole, but Hae-young has to like sign for it, so Hae-young has to go to the penitentiary to meet him. I said here, I was like, watch they never bring it back up and explain what the hell happened there. And they don't bring it up again. We never find out whose murder he was guilty of or anything like that. And unrelated, but I made a note about it, I saw a Judge Judy case the other day where a woman's brother is in jail for murder. The case had nothing to do with that. She was like the guardian for his kids because he's in jail. But it was just so wild to me because Judge Judy was like, okay, what's your brother in jail for? And she said murder. And I was like, side note, I've been watching Criminal Minds for the last couple of weeks. It has consumed most of my thoughts now. My brain is like in 4 sections. Everything else, Marvel, Criminal Minds, Miraculous Ladybug. If I can make a pie chart, if I feel like making a pie chart, I'll make one and put it here. Anyway, Sunho is trying to be a good boyfriend to the girl that he's dating, like the girl from season 1 that he's dating when we're in present day, 2023. I don't know why. Not in like a rude way, but he didn't seem to care before, so why all of a sudden he want to be a good guy to her? It's cute. I like it for her. She's really sweet. But he's still in love with JoJo, so very messy. Anyway, JoJo meets with Brian, the developer, and he tells her that he can't get rid of the shield. So now she's like in distress, but also Sunho is being a nosy, insert word here, and he overheard them talking about the shield, and so he confronts JoJo about it after she talks to the developer. It's very dramatic. He does a lot of yelling, and then he tells her that she still likes him. And she denies it, and she runs away. And then he goes to yell at Brian for inventing the shield. And Brian's being all weird and vague and annoying. I wanted Sunho to punch him in the face. He didn't, but I wanted him to. Brian gets on my nerves. And I felt like he was an imposter, so I was like, I don't like you. If you remember, the big thing at the end of season 1 was there was an announcement that Love Alarm was making. Outside of the revealing of the developer of the app, because up until this point he was anonymous, they also were releasing a new version of the app called Love Alarm 2.0 that told you the people who would like you, like future tense. Weirdest concept. I don't know how they planned on doing that. That doesn't make any sense. We're not going to talk about it too much. I haven't brought this up until now because it didn't matter. But the only reason that Sunho felt like it was acceptable to tell JoJo that she still liked him is because she's on his list of people who will like him. But she's also on Hyeyoung's. So that's messy. Again, didn't mention it till now because priorities, but just thought I should let you know. Sunho and Hyeyoung have a really sad moment one night where they're like sitting and Sunho tells Hyeyoung that he like met up with JoJo and Hyeyoung's being nonchalant as he always is. And then Sunho tells him that he's been thinking about a promise Hyeyoung made when they were kids about protecting him, and the way my heart was breaking because Hyeyoung literally just left and then Sunho was like crying in the middle of the night by himself and I was like, my poor baby! Anyway, some other random things happened that I didn't think were important enough to document. That's like what I wrote in my notes. But then Sunho shows up to JoJo's class because he's a messy and then everyone is gossiping, so she walks out and he follows her. And then he kisses her because see reason before he is a messy. It's so sick to me because like she's dating your best friend. Why would you kiss her? Why would you show up in her class? First of all, like y'all aren't in high school anymore. This is messy and disruptive. And then somewhere across town, for no reason in particular, Hyeyoung checks his Love Alarm app just because, and we watch as JoJo disappears from the list of people who will love him or like him. And this is when I quit for that last night. This was episode 3. I remember it so vividly. I got to it, and I was like, yeah, I gotta check out. That was an attack. Why did I need to see that? Why did Hyeyoung have to check his Love Alarm in that moment? A. B. Why did I have to see that? Like, why did I have to know that? The way I was, like, in tears when I saw it. I was like, no. Nope. Checking out for the night. I have to quit. Anyway, then today when I started watching it again, I was watching episode 4 and I was like, what happened to that anti-Love Alarm group from the end of season 1? Like, we haven't seen or heard anything about them since then. And they don't come up again. Like, it never comes back up. I'm assuming that the dude leading it was Deku because he's not dead. Spoiler alert. I hope you weren't watching this with the intent of not getting spoilers. He ain't dead. I'm going to go with the notion that he was leading the protests, but they never confirmed that because they never come up again. Anyway, the video of Sunho showing up to JoJo's class ended up online and went kind of viral because Sunho's famous. And this is just like high school all over again because the entire class is gossiping about JoJo. They're like, oh my god, didn't Sunho have a girlfriend? Is she his mistress? How they know each other? Because I guess none of these people know how to mind their business. And if you watch the show, I don't think I mentioned this in my video, but if you watch the show after JoJo and Suno kissed back in high school, the whole school was gossiping about her and calling her names. And this is happening all over again. For some reason, this entire university is so pressed with what's going on. Anyway, because her entire class is gossiping, she runs away and leaves her phone. So Hyeyoung sees the video, and he goes to her school looking for her. She's not there. So he calls her, and her phone is still with her friend because she ran off without it. And I don't know where she went. She just kind of disappeared for a while, and Hyeyoung is going all over town looking for her. And somehow he ends up at the convenience store, which I guess makes sense because she works there. But she's not there, and for some reason Suno shows up at the convenience store. I don't know if he was also looking for her or if he just was there, but the two of them are at the convenience store together, and Hyeyoung immediately punches Suno in the face and then calls him a selfish, narcissistic prick because JoJo hates being the center of attention, and showing up in her class like that made her the center of attention, and he was like, why would you do that to her? And Suno is like, oh, you want to talk selfish, then look in the mirror, basically. And he punches him back. Real messy. And then the two of them go their separate ways. Hyeyoung finds JoJo, and he's like, hey, are you okay? I was worried I couldn't get in touch with you, whatever else in the third. And she's like, pause, why aren't you angry with me? I'm your girlfriend and I keep doing all of these terrible things that end up hurting you. You should, like, be yelling at me or, like, be angry or, like, anything like that. And she's, like, sobbing her eyes out. And he's like, okay, that's what you want me to do from now on, fine, I'll do that, but just don't be upset. Anyway, just before all of that mess went down, an unknown number sent JoJo another widget, because of course we need more of those, called a spear, which would allow her to ring the love alarm of anyone she chooses. And this is where I said I'm going with Deok-gu is alive, but he's like off the grid for whatever reason, and Brian has to be related to him somehow because he's always in Deok-gu's high school bedroom, and it didn't make any sense to me. Later on, JoJo sees Suno and gives him this speech about how basically Hyeyoung has her heart, I'm paraphrasing heavy, and that them breaking up in high school had nothing to do with Love Alarm. Basically, it's very sad. Suno is like driving around crying. And then here's what I said, I can't stand watching everyone break each other's hearts. It was really upsetting to me and my homegirls. It's me, I'm my homegirls. And then she meets up with Hyeyoung and uses the spear to ring his love alarm, and his reaction is so adorable. But at this point, this show made me feel like I was losing my mind, because I don't have a favorite. I love them both so much. So whenever something bad happened to either of them, it hurt my heart so badly. But when something bad was happening to one of them, something good was happening to the other. So I would go from, oh my baby, to, oh my god, that's so cute. Losing my mind. Anyway, then the show confirms in a very, like, ominous way that Deok-gu is alive. In episode 5, keep in mind the show has 6 episodes, and they confirm it so weirdly because Brian goes to Hyeyoung while Hyeyoung's at work, and he calls his name. He goes, Hyeyoung-shi! He taps him on the shoulder, and then he walks out of the building. Without a single word. Like, that felt, like, threatening. Like, what are you doing, mate? What's going on here? And then Brian goes to a room of some sorts, smashes a potted plant, and then menacingly stares out the window and goes, what are you up to? I wish I could remember what the Korean was. Would have been so much cooler. But I didn't write it in Korean, and I don't want to go back and look for it. So you're just gonna get the English translation. Anyway, in one of the most awkward scenes that I've ever had to watch in a K-drama, Suno's girlfriend, yeah, remember her. Actually, at this point, Suno and her have broken up, but I didn't mention it because it literally means nothing to the plot of the show. But she goes to find JoJo for reasons that I don't quite know. And then Suno is looking for the girlfriend for reasons that I also don't quite know. He finds her after she has found JoJo, so now the three of them are together. Suno rings JoJo's love alarm. The girlfriend rings Suno's. And then Hyeyoung shows up because he was supposed to be meeting JoJo after work. And JoJo and him ring each other's love alarms because if you remember, the spear is a thing. And Suno is losing his mind. And he talks to JoJo. He's like, how did you do that? How did you ring his love alarm? And he's like, I did it by choice. And he's like, oh, what did you do to love alarm this time, basically? Because he knows about the shield and he's mad. And he's talked to her several times about how he doesn't think that it's fair that she's like hid her feelings and lied to him and all of this stuff. Whatever. The scene was terrible. I hated watching it. But some time passes, I think it's later that night, and Mr. Brian shows up to see JoJo about the spear, and he's like, where's Deku? And she's like, ain't you the one who, sorry, he's dead? Isn't he? Because she, like, obviously doesn't know where he is. She thought he was dead until this moment. And he's like, wait, you have this spear widget, but you don't know where he's at? And she's like, okay, but why did you lie to me? Like, why did you let me believe that he was dead if he's alive? And he's like, pause. No, because you installed the shield to lie to everybody about who you had feelings for. And then you lied to Haeyoung about ringing his love alarm by using the spear. So you don't get to talk to me about being a liar. And I'm like, this isn't giving me very an eye for an eye. Because just because she's lying for different reasons, by the way, doesn't mean the fact that you're lying is okay. You lied about someone dying. She lied because she was trying to break up with somebody, and the only real way he was going to accept it was if she didn't ring his love alarm. Which, I guess I can see why, but also respect her decisions, you know? But anyway, none of this really matters except for the fact that Haeyoung overheard the entire conversation, so now he knows about the shield and the spear. And he goes to see Suno, and they have a very sad conversation where both of them are crying and throwing up. And then the next day, Haeyoung breaks up with JoJo, I'm pretty sure. I was a little confused for a minute there. Honestly, mission outcome unclear. But I'm gonna go with they broke up. Anyway, Deku goes to talk to Haeyoung about it, to prove that, like, she wasn't, like, yes, she lied to you about how she rung your love alarm, but shouldn't it mean something that she went through so much effort to be able to ring your love alarm? JoJo and Suno have, like, a heart-to-heart about the shield. He's like, do you regret downloading it? And she's like, yeah, but also I wouldn't change a thing, because she, like, learned a lesson from it or something or the other. And then JoJo goes to Jeju. Say that 5 times fast. JoJo goes to Jeju for, like, a marathon thing, and she does some inner child healing while she's running the marathon. She, like, hugs her child self, and she does some crying, but I think she feels better afterwards. She tells her child self that nobody is responsible for her parents' death. It's not her fault, and it's not, like, a bad thing that she chose to live, because that's something she's been struggling with since episode 1. She even has a breakdown earlier in the show because she thinks that all these bad things are her fault because she lived when her parents died. Because, side note, there's a dude arrested for murder. I don't mention it because it doesn't matter to the plot, except that it, like, spearheads her breakdown, because it's the guy that was following her from episode 1. He apparently murdered some girl, and he gets arrested, and he says that he was fulfilling the prophecies from her anonymous Instagram that she runs, but none of them were prophecies. They were all, like, based off of her life, like, what happened with her parents and all of this stuff. But people just assumed it was propheserical for whatever reason. And that causes her to have a breakdown because she's like, bad things keep happening and I feel like I'm responsible for them, even though she's not. She also admits that she is the artist for the Instagram, so, like, she exposes herself or whatever. It doesn't really mean anything after this. Like, it doesn't matter at all, but I'm just informing you. Oh, when she's doing her little run in Jeju, Haeyoung shows up. He's waiting for her at the finish line. It's a very cute scene. So I guess the two of them get back together and Suno just dies. No, he doesn't. I meant that in the guess I'll die kind of way because he doesn't get the girl, and I know that she couldn't end up with both of them because this is a conventional show, but I wish that it didn't have to end, like, badly for either of them. Haeyoung and Suno make up. Love that for them. They've been besties since they were kids, so I was kind of upset that they weren't talking to each other anymore. Suno is getting ready to film some Netflix show anyway, like, so he's about to leave, apparently. And then we get a series of videos that his ex is watching of Suno coming by her apartment every few days for a couple of months while she had, like, gone away to do who knows what. So I guess he cared about her after all. She's back now, so he tells her that he's gonna keep coming to her apartment every day until he rings her love alarm. So I guess that's his happy ending. Again, I don't know what has made him decide that he wants to be with her for real, but whatever. JoJo and Deku link up. They have a cute little chit chat. I love their friendship. I have since high school. Deku is very cute. Deku also talks to the cousin, whose name I don't remember, and she like has some self-righteous speech about how he has no right to judge other people's feelings, whatever. There's some scenes of JoJo and Taehyung kikiing, and then they're going to get lunch, and then we get a montage of every time that JoJo would have rang Taehyung's love alarm if not for the shield, and then that's the end of the show. I don't know if I just rushed through talking about this or if the show was really that. Actually, no, I spent a lot of the show playing Candy Crush, so it really was just that light this season. Hey, okay, so I said this earlier, but apparently by the time I got to the end of the video, I forgot. The season is only 6 episodes, so it really just is that short. That's all. But anyway, this has been Love Alarm in a nutshell. This was much shorter than my first Love Alarm video. It's actually much shorter than most of my videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video, whenever that goes up. Wait, before you go, at the end of all of my videos, I include a question for you to answer down below in the comments section. This video's question is going to be, what's the last book you read? The last book I read is, well, okay, the last book, I didn't finish it yet, but I started this one. It's called Take a Hint, Dani Brown. It's about a woman who is super goal-oriented, and then she ends up in a fake relationship with like a security guard at her job or whatever. It's a good book. I recommend it. But yeah, tell me what books you've been reading, if you've been reading books. If you haven't, that's cool. I'm just a bookworm, and I'm trying to make an effort to read more because I really like books and I just don't ever have time to read them. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you don't miss another video. Check out my links down below in my bio. You know, Twitter, Instagram, follow me so that you can get uploads there. Also, watch me rant about stuff. I also recently watched Loki. I made a whole Twitter thread about it. If you ever want to see what I'm like when I'm watching something, follow me on Twitter. I have a Discord server. Go ahead and join that. Link in bio. Yeah, that's all. See y'all next time. Bye-bye.